quiet rhythm in the fading night, breathing with a gentle pulse that settles in the air. I feel the city soften while the rush dissolves away. The cables underneath the walls are mapping out my thoughts, steady as a heartbeat, learning how to slow. Nothing breaks the silence that rewires every hour, turning restless motion into something close to calm. Lights reflect like distant codes across the metal frame, folding all the noise into a space that doesn't speak. I follow every softened beat the windows choose to echo, keeping only fragments I am finally allowed to keep. Every step connects me to the quiet in the wires, drawing out the steady tone that hides below the sound. Time becomes a subtle wave that moves without intention, shaping every breath into a signal I can hold. Nothing in the static asks for anything too loud. Everything is slower than the rush the day forgot. The echo of the distant street stays balanced in the dark, a low and gentle presence, learning how to rest. I watch the city settle down without a single word, trading every bright demand for softer points of light. And still the low electric pulse remains beneath the floor, guiding every thought to linger where it falls. I lean into the quiet like a current I can trust, knowing every fading spark will keep its shape tonight. Static turns to rhythm when the quiet finds a page, writing unfamiliar calm across the restless air. Nothing moves too quickly for the outline to appear. Everything is drawn in lines I never saw before. The patterns in the silence feel like signals from the past, asking me to breathe in ways I never thought to try. Even when the night forgets the meaning of its pace, the glow beneath the wiring keeps the pulse intact. And I can hear the softer tones that guide the hidden grid, steady in the shadows like a promise left unsaid. The quiet holds the edges of the hours still awake, stitching every distant thought into a gentle frame. I wait between the rising tones that drift across the room, letting go of fragments that were never meant to stay. Nothing in the moment asks me to return the noise. Every subtle rhythm holds the night without demand. The pulse beneath the circuits works like something almost kind, letting tired signals loosen into air. And when the final trace of motion slips beyond the glass, I'm left with just the calm the wiring chose to keep. A softness in the current shows me everything remains, even in the quiet that pretends to disappear. moves beneath the night. The cobblestones remember how the day once rushed, now holding only fragments that the silence keeps in place. Nothing in the passing shine demands a faster pace. Every echo settles where the narrow lines converge. The air is shaped by signals left behind the tram. A low electric whisper folding gently into rain. I feel the rhythm linger where the street forgets to speak. A subtle motion humming underneath my step. The windows spill their fading glow across the tracks, drawing out a calm the neon never meant to lose. The distant wires breathe in patterns I can't name, sketching quiet pathways no direction has to claim. Time bends like softened sparks along the metal frame, drifting slow enough to teach the city how to rest. No sudden voice intrudes on what the stillness builds. The rhythm leans on everything the night allows. Even when reflection slips beyond the edge of thought, the color stays like memory, refusing to dissolve. I move along the tempered light the storm has left behind, carried by a pulse too gentle to disturb the dark. Nothing in the moment tries to pull the silence back. It only lets the softened glows suspend the hour. I rest within the railshine, keeping distance from the noise, trusting every muted spark to take its time. Footsteps fall like quiet marks against the stone, breathing with the echoes no one else can hear. The ground absorbs the final trace of everything that ran, storing it like fragments, too patient to erase. Light travels in a narrow thread beneath the glass, holding on to spaces where the noise forgot to stay. Even when the wheels are gone, the rhythm still remains, a quiet chord that folds the night into itself. And I let every loosened thought align with what is left, moving at the pace the fading rail decides to keep. the hours no one bothers to recall. Shadows lean against the frame that separates the night. every subtle rhythm left behind the glass. I walk beneath the softened glow that barely meets the ground, slower than the thoughts I never tried to keep. Nothing pulls the silence from the corners of the room. It lingers like a pulse the windows never learn to lose. The air reveals a faded voice the daylight couldn't hear, drifting through the stillness with a gentle afterglow. I follow where the quiet moves before it disappears, trusting every distant tone to settle into place. The softened lights reflect a path that doesn't need a name, guiding every patient step along the tempered stone. Even when the echoes fall beneath the sound of rain, the rhythm keeps its shape without a reason to return. Time unfolds in quiet waves that lean against the walls, shaping all the softer thoughts the night agreed to hold. The window frames a silent ache that doesn't ask for a cure, a low and endless heartbeat waiting to be found. Nothing breaks the fragile calm that forms beneath the glass. Each moment lays itself across the cooling air, and still the dim reflection writes a song the shadows keep, steady as a memory the morning can't erase. I breathe into the silence where the streets refuse to speak, knowing every softened trace will find a place to stay. The city learns to lower all the noise it used to wear, turning every rushing sound into a quiet thread of light. Even when the night begins to fold itself away, the colors cling to surfaces that never learn to fade. The rails reflect a distant glow the footsteps never claim, humming in the way a promise settles into dust. Nothing in the quiet tries to measure what remains. It only lets the softened hours move without a mark. And when the final shimmer slips below the frame, I'm left with just the calm the windows meant to say. The quiet motion follows through the undertone of night, sliding past the window with a weightless, gentle pace. Every distant engine fades before it forms a sound, leaving only softened echoes drifting through the air. I move along the borrowed light that trembles on the floor, carried by a rhythm just too subtle to disturb. Nothing breaks the calm that leans against the sleeping street. Every shadow learns to pass without a trace. Time unfolds in lowered steps that breathe against the glass, holding on to fragments that the daylight never keeps. The silence folds each moment into threads of muted red, mapping out a path the noise forgot to claim. Across the narrow transit line, the echoes fall apart, shaping all the stillness into something close to warm. Even when the distant wheels dissolve into the dark, the quiet keeps the memory of their measured pulse alive. No restless voice divides the softened shape of air. Everything is timed to match the slowness of the rails. The night absorbs the fading tone without a single shift, letting every loosened thought remain exactly where it lands. I trace the subtle shimmer on the pavement like a cue, learning how to move without disturbing where it rests. And still the transit breeze beneath the city's lower hum, steady as a promise no one ever had to speak. I lean into the rhythm that the street decides to save, trusting it to pull the hours back into a line. The windows bend, the lantern glow across the motionless stones, holding just enough reflection for the night to stay. Even when the color slips beneath the scattered rain, the pulse remains like memory, refusing to dissolve. Nothing rushes through the moment more than needed now. Every gentle pace becomes a quiet point of view. The air is filled with softened paths that don't require names, drifting like a signal meant for one persistent breath. And when the final trace of movement leaves the scene, I stay within the calm the transit chose to keep. Every faded glow along the rail becomes a pulse, slow enough to echo what the night refuses to release. I breathe in time with all the hidden threads below, tracing where the softened current gathers into form. Nothing breaks the movement of this slow electric calm. It settles like a promise the daylight never keeps. The windows spill a patient red across the silent floor, carrying the remains of motion no one meant to see. I follow where the rhythm folds into the ground, letting every subtle shift decide the shape of thought. The air remembers sounds that never learned to shout, drifting like a softer wave beneath the metal frame. Even when the quiet shifts beneath a passing step, the pulse keeps breathing through the edges of the street. No faster voice can scatter what the city chose to hold. Every softened circuit moves at just the needed pace. I wait beside the tempered glow the tracks reflect, steady as a memory suspended in the rain. Time moves like lowered light across the outer glass, pulling all the restless hours back into their place. And still the pulse remains beneath the ground, guiding every loosened thought along a slower line. I lean against the colder curve the shadows drew, listening to the motion that survives without a name. Nothing in the stillness asks for more than one deep breath, enough to feel the quiet press against the rails. The world grows softer when the rhythm learns to stay, building all its meaning from the silence in between. Even when the echoes drop below the edge of sound, the current stays unbroken in the corner of the street. The rain collects the final sparks the wires let fall, turning them to signals only night is calm enough to hear. And when the last faint tremor slips beneath the stone, I walk along the Pulseway like a quiet second heart. The night is built from faded tones the wires barely keep, a signal hanging quiet in the corners of the street. I move beneath the softened hum the city left behind, tracing where the gentle static settles into place. Nothing in the lowered glow remembers how to rush. Every muted fragment slows the motion into air. The windows hold a trembling light that fails to reach the ground. drifting like a message weakened by the rain. I breathe between the quiet drops, the silence doesn't claim, letting every loosened thought divide and disappear. The rails reflect a distant pulse, too faint to form a path, steady but too tired to call the moment back. Time unfolds in quiet shapes along the silver frame, writing softer rhythms no direction needs to read. Even when the echoes fall beneath a passing step, the low signal keeps its shape beneath the stone. No sudden voice can break the calm the quiet learned to save. Every lowered frequency is part of what remains. I feel the faint remainder of a pulse beneath the glass, holding on to fragments only night has time to hear. The street forgets the brighter hours without a second sound, leaving only traces that the darkness slows to keep. And still the softened current leans against the ground, humming like a memory that never learned to speak. I rest within the silence where the signal thins to air, knowing every dim reflection chooses where to stay. Nothing in the muted tone demands a faster breath. The slowest rhythm carries everything it needs alone. The city shrinks its voice until the noise dissolves, building quiet patterns from the shadows of the rail. Even when the final spark begins to lose its weight, the faintest pulse remains beneath the motion of the rain. The night is shaped by what the daylight could not hear, keeping all the lowest sounds the hours tried to shed. And when the last thin shimmer falls apart against the stone, I walk inside the low signal like a door that never closed. Drawing every lowered sound across the quiet stone. I follow where the color moves before it disappears, settling like a softened echo no one meant to keep. Nothing pulls the dim reflection from the surface of the street. It leaves between the steps that never learn to stay. The windows lean their weakened glow across the narrow frame, turning every restless thought into a quiet writing slow reflections no direction has to claim. Even when the glass forgets the sharpness of its tone, the glow remains like something waiting not to fade. No sudden noise will bend the stillness underneath. The faintest color settles deeper than the sound. The street remembers motion only through the scattered light, a quiet mark of hours leaving without rush. I walk along the softened glow that trembles at my feet, letting every quiet rhythm fall into its place. And still the tempered red remains beneath the rain, humming like a promise, too tired to become clear. I lean against the moment where the darker shadows pause, listening to the softened glass release its heat. Nothing in the quiet asks the color to explain. It only lets the slower tones decide what's left to hold. The night forgets the meaning of the brighter hours past, shrinking all the noise until the air can rest. Even when the final ripple fades below the frame, the muted red still marks the shape the silence learned. The city loses volume, but the glow refuses sleep, turning every edge of shadow into tempered light. And when the last thin shimmer folds beneath the ground, I stay inside the red reflection like a slower breath. The quiet outlines settle in the corners of the street, tracing every softened echo left beneath the glass. I walk along the shifting lines that drift across the stone, learning how the night redraws what daylight failed to keep. Nothing in the fading glow remembers how to rush. The stillness stretches everything into a gentle frame. The windows cast a trembling line, the rain is yet to claim, turning all the lowered sound into a quiet guide. I breathe within the muted shape the shadows try to hold, steady in the rhythm no one needs to name aloud. The rail reflects a slender mark that never quite dissolves, humming through the silence like a ghost of motion left. Time hangs in gentle patterns on the surface of the dark, moving slow enough to let the city fall asleep. Even when the echoes fade beneath a passing step, the trace remains like memory refusing to let go. No restless voice can pull the rhythm from its place. Every lowered tone becomes a thread of measured calm. I follow where the night decides to draw its final line, trusting every softened spark to finish what it starts. But strong enough to stay. I lean against the gentle drift that carries scattered light, watching how the evening folds into the street. Nothing asks the darkness for a reason to remain. It only lets the hours slow until the sound grows thin. The silence takes the last sharp edge the day forgot to file, smoothing every restless mark against the rails. Even when the color slips beneath the rain, the glow stays bright enough to prove the moment lived. The night unthreads the noise the city used to claim, stitching quiet pathways through the leftover heat. And when the final pulse grows softer than a breath, I walk inside the Nighttrace like a signal made of air. Lines that hum beneath the glass, tracing every quiet rhythm in the fading night, breathing with the gentle pulse that settles in the air. I feel the city soften while the rush dissolves away. The cables underneath the walls are mapping out my thoughts, steady as a heartbeat, learning how to slow. Nothing breaks the silence that rewires every hour, turning restless motion into something close to calm. Lights reflect like distant codes across the metal frame, folding all the noise into a space that doesn't speak. I follow every softened beat the windows choose to echo, keeping only fragments I am finally allowed to keep. Every step connects me to the quiet in the wires, drawing out the steady tone that hides below the sound. Time becomes a subtle wave that moves without intention, shaping every breath into a signal I can hold. Nothing in the static asks for anything too loud. into the quiet like a current I can trust, knowing every fading spark will keep its shape tonight. Static turns to rhythm when the quiet finds a page, writing unfamiliar calm across the restless air. Nothing moves too quickly for the outline to appear. Everything is drawn in lines I never saw before. The patterns in the silence feel like signals from the past, asking me to breathe in ways I never thought to try. Even when the night forgets the meaning of its pace, the glow beneath the wiring keeps the pulse intact, and I can hear the softer tones that guide the hidden grid, steady in the shadows like a promise left unsaid. The quiet holds the edges of the hours still awake, stitching every distant thought into a gentle frame. I wait between the rising tones that drift across the room, letting go of fragments that were never meant to stay. Nothing in the moment asks me to return the noise. Every subtle rhythm holds the night without demand. The pulse beneath the circuits works like something almost kind, letting tired signals loosen into air. And when the final trace of motion slips beyond the glass, I'm left with just the calm the wiring chose to keep. A softness in the current shows me everything remains, even in the quiet that pretends to disappear. Cobblestones remember how the day once rushed, now holding only fragments that the silence keeps in place. Nothing in the passing shine demands a faster pace. Every echo settles where the narrow lines converge. The air is shaped by signals left behind the tram. A low electric whisper folding gently into rain. I feel for the hours no one bothers to recall. Shadows lean against the frame that separates the night, tracing every subtle rhythm left behind the glass. I walk beneath the softened glow that barely meets the ground, slower than the thoughts I never tried to keep. Nothing pulls the silence from the corners of the room. It lingers like a pulse the windows never learn to lose. The air reveals a faded voice the daylight couldn't hear, drifting through the stillness with a gentle afterglow. I follow where the quiet moves before it disappears, trusting every distant tone to settle into place. The softened lights reflect a path that doesn't need a name, guiding every patient step along the tempered stone. Even when the echoes fall beneath the sound of rain, the rhythm keeps its shape without a reason to return. Time unfolds in quiet waves that lean against the walls, shaping all the softer thoughts the night agreed to hold. The window frames a silent ache that doesn't ask for a cure, a low and endless heartbeat waiting to be found. Nothing breaks the fragile calm that forms beneath the glass. Each moment lays itself across the cooling air, and still the dim reflection writes a song the shadows keep, steady as a memory the morning can't erase. I breathe into the silence where the streets refuse to speak, knowing every softened trace will find a place to stay. The city learns to lower all the noise it used to wear, turning every rushing sound into a quiet thread of light. Even when the night begins to fold itself away, the colors cling to surfaces that never learn to fade. The rails reflect a distant glow the footsteps never claim, humming in the way a promise settles into dust. Nothing in the quiet tries to measure what remains. It only lets the softened hours move without a mark. And when the final shimmer slips below the frame, I'm left with just the calm the window's meant to say. is drifting through the air. I move along the borrowed light that trembles on the floor, carried by a rhythm just too subtle to disturb. Nothing breaks the calm that leans against the sleeping street. Every shadow learns to pass without a trace. Time unfolds in lowered steps that breathe against the glass, holding on to fragments that the daylight never keeps. The silence folds each moment into threads of muted red, mapping out a path the noise forgot to claim. Across the narrow transit line, the echoes fall apart, shaping all the stillness into something close to warm. Even when the distant wheels dissolve into the dark, the quiet keeps the memory of their measured pulse alive. No restless voice divides the softened shape of air. Everything is timed to match the slowness of the rails. The night absorbs the fading tone without a single shift, letting every loosened thought remain exactly where it lands. I trace the subtle shimmer on the pavement like a cue, learning how to move without disturbing where it rests. And still the transit breeze beneath the city's lower hum, steady as a promise no one ever had to speak. I lean into the rhythm that the street decides to save, trusting it to pull the hours back into a line. The windows bend, the lantern glow across the motionless stones, holding just enough reflection for the night to stay. Even when the color slips beneath the scattered rain, the pulse remains like memory, refusing to dissolve. Nothing rushes through the moment more than needed now. Every gentle pace becomes a quiet point of view. The air is filled with softened paths that don't require names, drifting like a signal meant for one persistent breath. And when the final trace of movement leaves the scene, I stay within the calm the transit chose to keep. Every faded glow along the rail becomes a pulse, slowing is to release. I breathe in time with all the hidden threads below, tracing where the softened current gathers into form. Nothing breaks the movement of this slow electric calm. It settles like a promise the daylight never keeps. The windows spill a patient red across the silent floor, carrying the remains of motion no one meant to see. I follow where the rhythm folds into the ground, letting every subtle shift decide the shape of thought. The air remembers sounds that never learned to shout, drifting like a softer wave beneath the metal frame. Even when the quiet shifts beneath a passing step, the pulse keeps breathing through the edges of the street. No faster voice can scatter what the city chose to hold. Every softened circuit moves at just the needed pace. I wait beside the tempered glow the tracks reflect, steady as a memory suspended in the rain. Time moves like lowered light across the outer glass, pulling all the restless hours back into their place. And still the pulse remains beneath the ground, guiding every loosened thought along a slower line. I lean against the colder curve the shadows drew, listening to the motion that survives without a name. Nothing in the stillness asks for more than one deep breath, enough to feel the quiet press against the rails. The world grows softer when the rhythm learns to stay, building all its meaning from the silence in between. Even when the echoes drop below the edge of sound, the current stays unbroken in the corner of the street. The rain collects the final sparks the wires let fall, turning them to signals only night is calm enough to hear. And when the last faint tremor slips beneath the stone, I walk along the Pulseway like a quiet second heart. The night is built from faded tones the wires barely keep, a signal hanging quiet in the corners of the street. I move beneath the softened hum the city left behind, tracing where the gentle static settles into place. Nothing in the lowered glow remembers how to rush. Every muted fragment slows the motion into drifting like a message weakened by the rain. I breathe between the quiet drops, the silence doesn't claim, letting every loosened thought divide and disappear. The rails reflect a distant pulse, too faint to form a path, steady but too tired to call the moment back. Time unfolds in quiet shapes along the silver frame, writing softer rhythms no direction needs to read. Even when the echoes fall beneath a passing step, the low signal keeps its shape beneath the stone. No sudden voice can break the calm the quiet learned to save. Every lowered frequency is part of what remains. I feel the faint remainder of a pulse beneath the glass, holding on to fragments only night has time to hear. The street forgets the brighter hours without a second sound, leaving only traces that the darkness slows to keep. And still the softened current leans against the ground, humming like a memory that never learned to speak. I rest within the silence where the signal thins to air, knowing every dim reflection chooses where to stay. Nothing in the muted tone demands a faster breath. The slowest rhythm carries everything it needs alone. The city shrinks its voice until the noise dissolves, building quiet patterns from the shadows of the rail. Even when the final spark begins to lose its weight, the faintest pulse remains beneath the motion of the rain. The night is shaped by what the daylight could not hear, keeping all the lowest sounds the hours tried to shed. And when the last thin shimmer falls apart against the stone, I walk inside the low signal like a door that never closed. Settling like a softened echo no one meant to keep. Nothing pulls the dim reflection from the surface of the street. It leaves between the steps that never learned to stay. The windows lean their weakened glow across the narrow frame, turning every restless thought into a quiet slow reflections no direction has to claim. Even when the glass forgets the sharpness of its tone, the glow remains like something waiting not to fade. No sudden noise will bend the stillness underneath. The faintest color settles deeper than the sound. The street remembers motion only through the scattered light, a quiet mark of hours leaving without rush. I walk along the softened glow that trembles at my feet, letting every quiet rhythm fall into its place. And still the tempered red remains beneath the rain, humming like a promise, too tired to become clear. I lean against the moment where the darker shadows pause, listening to the softened glass release its heat. Nothing in the quiet asks the color to explain. It only lets the slower tones decide what's left to hold. The night forgets the meaning of the brighter hours past, shrinking all the noise until the air can rest. Even when the final ripple fades below the frame, the muted red still marks the shape the silence learned. The city loses volume, but the glow refuses sleep, turning every edge of shadow into tempered light. And when the last thin shimmer folds beneath the ground, I stay inside the red reflection like a slower breath. The quiet outlines settle in the corners of the street, tracing every softened echo left beneath the glass. I walk along the shifting lines that drift across the stone, learning how the night redraws what daylight failed to keep. Nothing in the fading glow remembers how to rush. The stillness stretches everything into a gentle frame. The windows cast a trembling line, the rain is yet to claim, turning all the lowered sound into a quiet guide. I breathe within the muted shape the shadows try to hold, steady in the rhythm no one needs to name aloud. The rail reflects a slender mark that never quite dissolves, humming through the silence like a ghost of motion left. Time hangs in gentle patterns on the surface of the dark, moving slow enough to let the city fall asleep. Even when the echoes fade beneath a passing step, the trace remains like memory, refusing to let go. No restless voice can pull the rhythm from its place. Every lower tone becomes a thread of measured calm. I follow where the night decides to draw its final line, trusting every softened spark to finish what it starts. but strong enough to stay. I lean against the gentle drift that carries scattered light, watching how the evening folds into the street. Nothing asks the darkness for a reason to remain. It only lets the hours slow until the sound grows thin. The silence takes the last sharp edge the day forgot to file, smoothing every restless mark against the rails. Even when the color slips beneath the rain, the glow stays bright enough to prove the moment lived. The night unthreads the noise the city used to claim, stitching quiet pathways through the